show up. And then you get to look back, and it's opportunity for regret. Everybody knows we're better than what we just put out there on that field. And that all comes down to me. So that's my fault. And I'm going to do a better job in preparing you. I'm going to do a better job in continuing to push the standard. I'm going to do a better job. I'm trying to put you guys in a position to go play with speed and confidence.
Nole Nation, welcome into another sombering episode of the Renegade Rundown. Got my guy Deshawn Adams, as always, at Deshawn Adams 18, Pro Football Talk. Double D's Let's Talk About It. That's his podcast that I kind of messed up the name for. We'll make sure he plugs that correctly before it's all over. But we have a special guest today, Frank Bonner II, Memphis beat writer, Memphis insider, Memphis expert, whatever you want to put there next to his name. He's that guy covering Memphis beat. We got him in here for the first half hour of the show. We're going to talk about what a football program that's kind of on expectations, on track, doing what it's supposed to do is like, and kind of what we have to look forward to with Memphis coming to Tallahassee before we get into just the Florida State stuff. So you do notice Jen's not back yet, as we all know. I don't know if we talked about it on air. She came out and announced it after one of the shows, but she did have surgery. She had a cancerous growth and got it removed and everything. Believe everything went great. I won't go into great detail, but she's recovering from that. Hopefully, that's it. No more issues, and she just gets healed back, and we have her back here Friday or Sunday or whenever the case may be. So just prayers out to Jen to get better as soon as possible. And again, now that we've got Frank here, let's talk about a football game. And Saturday, I just looked up the stat line. Florida State is up. They're favored by 5.5 points. If I would have told you that preseason, you would have looked at me like I had six heads if I'd have told you it was going to be minus 5.5 on Memphis coming into Doak. Florida State's 0-2 and about the worst 0-2 you could imagine, and probably worse than most folks would have imagined going into the season. And Memphis has looked pretty well there. Pretty creative defense and, offense kind of built for playmakers, similar to what we have here in Tallahassee, or we're supposed to have. They're 2-0. They've got to break their rock the past 2 weeks. How's it going, Frank? You fired up to come into town. I know that team has to be upset-minded after what they've seen on tape the past few weeks.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think it'd be a good game, between, a team that is desperate for a win in Florida State, and then a team in Memphis that they had 2 blowout victories in their first 2 games, and they're looking to take a step up in competition and see what they can do against a Florida State team that, honestly, the roster is still pretty talented, right? I mean, I know that Florida State they aren't giving the expectations that they had on them in preseason, but on the Memphis side of things, you're still going into Tallahassee, Florida, against a defensive line that has struggled, but they still have talented guys on that line, and so Memphis still has to put their best foot forward if they want to have a chance at winning the game against Florida State.
Yeah, no doubt. 40-0 over North Alabama, and is that a week 0 game? No, week 1 game, and then week 2, 38-17 victory over Troy. When you look at it on paper, like Florida State fans, we complain about recruiting, this and that. But Florida State should have a definite edge. But at the end of the day, this is a game that gets played, between, I believe it's 52.5 yards wide, the field, and 100 yards long. And it's a physical game. And Florida State hasn't shown the ability to kind of impose their will. And I won't ramble. Deshawn, you want to start it off? You have a question for Frank about the Memphis ball team and what to expect coming in here?
Yes, I'll start. You don't have to get in necessarily the personnel just yet, but tell us a little bit about the dynamic of the offense, because we hear so much about it. Explosive. I know you have 2 running backs, you got a experienced veteran quarterback, you return receivers, but what can Florida State's defense expect to get from Memphis on Saturday?
Well, for starters, right, you've got an extremely experienced quarterback in Seth Hennigan, who from day one, he's showed his ability to compete at a high level. And so Seth isn't a quarterback that's going to get confused by a whole lot, right? He's heading into what I think is 40th start of his college career. And so, the offense kind of starts with him, right? Memphis is going to go as far as Seth can take them. Obviously, they need an improved defense and everything, but it starts with Seth Hennigan. I'm sure you guys know running back Sutton Smith was a running back who was expected to be a major part of the offense, so he's out for the season now. But you look at a guy like Mario Anderson, who they grabbed from South Carolina. He had a really good game against Troy last week, 125 yards, 2 touchdowns, 17 carries. So Memphis is going to want to establish a run game early, especially because the other 2 opponents against Florida State were able to do that on the ground. And so Memphis would probably be looking to establish that to open up the pass game, because if you look at the weapons that Hennigan has at his disposal in the pass game, I mean, it starts with Rock Taylor, who led the team in receiving last year. He had a breakout year last year. Demir Blankenship is a guy who can take the top off the defense. He's got really good speed. Kobe Drake is a guy that when it's 3rd and short and you need a receiver to catch the ball in the middle of the field, Kobe Drake is a guy who, he can catch a ball and take a hit and still make sure that it's a completion. And then if you look at the history of Memphis's offense, the way that they use their tight ends, right? You've got Anthony Landfair and you got Brendan Doyle. Both of those guys are major threats in the red zone. And so, Seth Hennigan for the first 2 games, he's did at least one pass on different teammates. I mean, that should tell you enough about just the weapons that he feels like he has on that offense.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you what, he's thrown it, 30 times a game the first 2 games last year, 3,888 yards or 83 yards, 32 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He's the prototype of what you want in that offense. A guy that's going into a senior year. What you talked about there, all those things being great, and that's the normal thing. When you find a team who can stop the run and who's going to adjust, you're going to get to see all those playmakers get playing time. For me, if all those wide receivers are getting burned, that's good news for Florida State. That means we somehow pushed y'all off the run. Will Memphis do that? Will they? If look, they can't stop the run. They haven't showed the run, even though we have all these guys. Will they run it 60 times and only throw it 15, 20 times? If that's what Florida State's putting out there, or does the kind of personnel make it to where they're going to throw it 30 times no matter what?
Obviously, it depends on how the game is going, right? Depending on, score and all that stuff matters. But, Memphis is going to use their weapons, right? They're going to do what they're allowed to do on the field. And so, no matter how the run game is going, whether it's being successful or if it's not being successful, I do expect Seth Hennigan to throw the ball down the field and put some pressure on that FSU secondary. Obviously, they aren't going to take several shots down the field if Mario Anderson and Greg DeRosier are averaging, 5-6 yards a carry. Obviously, they're going to go with what works. But I do think that, when you've got a 4-year starter at quarterback, you're going to allow him to do what he has done for you in many games.
That's been one of the critiques of Mike Norvell. It's like sometimes if they're just giving you this and then you do this, just do that, do the simple math. So we can only pray they overcomplicate it, but no, y'all looked a lot more disciplined and things of that nature. But go ahead, Deshawn. I know you've got plenty of questions, and we've got about 30 minutes here, so again, we appreciate your time, bro.
Well, as we stick with the offense, talk to us a little bit more about the trenches, because I know you talked about the run game, the pass game, but it all starts up front. And talk to us a little bit about the personnel there. Yeah,
right. So the offensive line, they've got 2 returners from last year, right? And Xavier Hill and Jonah Gamble, and Xavier Hill was an all-ACC recipient. But both of those guys are playing different positions than last year. And then the other 3 guys are all new. And so this offensive line, which is why I think you see in game 1, Memphis struggled to run the ball, right? And then in game 2, they figured it out. I think part is, this group of 5 guys up front hadn't had any in-game snaps with each other, right? That 5. And so that offensive line is continuing to get more comfortable with each other, right? This is the first year in Seth Hennigan's career that he's had a center snapping him the ball who wasn't Jacob Likes from last season, right? And so all that stuff, there's chemistry that needed to take place in those first 2 games, right? And I think you saw it coming together in game 2.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see when they take a step up in competition in terms of the defensive line that Florida State has versus the defensive lines that Troy and North Alabama had, right? This is a different monster here. So I'm curious to see how they respond to that because they are so new together. So this will be a really good test for that offensive line in game 3 of the season.
Okay. Yeah, looking at it here, it looks like you guys brought your guards back, and then it's both tackles in the center that came over there. All transfers this year, or these guys who maybe transferred last year and broke into the starting lineup this year?
No, they're all first year transferred.
Okay.
Outside of the 2 returns.
That definitely. You would like to think this would be a pretty good opportunity for Pat Payton and Marvin Jones Jr. and be able to make some hay, but that benefit of getting to be 2-0, regardless of who is on the other side of the field, whether it was a high school team. That's why all these teams schedule cupcakes to open the year and things. And there's the ability to want to be a Florida State fan and look at the recruiting rankings, and you should be able to overcome all that. Doesn't matter. If you're just joining the show, that's not what's going on here. You're going to see these guys; they're going to show up as equals. Florida State, that rolling the helmet out there, ain't going to get it done. There's a chance. Maybe they can cover this 5.5, but we'll see. And again, we're lucky enough to have Frank Bonner, the second on here, Memphis beat writer, to give us a little inside info on the Memphis team thus far. Special teams, is there anything that stands out that there? I feel like that's like the one strength of Florida State, even though there hasn't been a lot of punting and things of that nature that's really been a weapon. We've still been behind the field position, but anything there that we should know about?
Yeah, just a second, guys. Can I just get 1 second? I got my
yes. That's fine. That's fine.
All the time, bro. I almost came out here with my puppy. I want to show my puppies to you guys, but I'm by myself, so it's a real problem because now I've got a puppy in my hand. I don't want to take the time to go put it in a crate, but I'm gonna get my mom or somebody to come over here one day when I do the show to help me. A couple of them I got to find homes for, but hopefully all the puppies are all right and you get some just put up. But yeah, man, it's tough.
It's been a tough 2 weeks.
Yeah, to hear that it's there and to see looking at the roster that you've got transfers on each side. Pat Payton and Marvin Jones and Siono Lohea and those guys, they should be able to eat that up. But at the same time, everything, it shakes your faith. Like last year, Florida State goes 13-0. They did everything they were supposed to do. They get left out. We hear all these things from the coaches. We report to you guys for 3 months. It kind of shakes your faith on what you know about football players and evaluation. But look, it's not as bad as it is or as good as it is. I can't remember exactly where we were. Yeah, can't talk. Where we were before you left off there. I think I was asking you about special teams or something.
Yeah, right. And so obviously, to take it back to Sutton Smith, who had a season-ending injury, he was the main kick returner, right? And he was expected to do special things, obviously. But now you got Greg DeRosier back there, who in his skill set is similar to Sutton's in terms of his ability to do a little bit of everything, which is why they got him back there at kick returner. And then Kobe Drake is comfortable as a punt returner. He's done it for some time for Memphis. He's one of those guys where obviously if he has to fair catch, he'll fair catch. But he's one of those guys where if he sees a little bit of room, he prefers to try to make something happen. So, obviously those are the 2 guys. And Memphis has got a couple of new kickers like Caden Costa. He's a kicker that in game 1, he missed a 50-yarder. He missed a PAT, but he's a guy who Silverfield and himself feel like his range is pretty far. So if they have to kick a long field goal, right, they feel pretty confident that Caden can get that done. And we'll see how the game is played if he ends up having to do something like that.
Okay.
Just the fact of going for a 50-yarder. But Deshawn, go ahead. You got something?
Yeah, switching to the defense, and I'm not going to just do personnel. I've heard there's a very uniqueness to how the defense is run. And it's actually concerning me a little bit because it's a little bit of moving parts with the way it is. Can you talk to us a little bit about the defense and how the players, then you can incorporate the players, how they fit and how they're used?
Yeah, right. So obviously they have a new defensive coordinator in Jordan
Mhm.
Hankins, who's been the linebacker coach for a few years now, right?
Mhm.
And if you look at if the reason why the defense, part of the reason why it's able to be what it is, right? Because if you look
Mhm.
like when you watch them play games, right, he's
Mhm.
pulling guys in and out on that defensive line so they can play fast, right? But the
Mhm.
defense really starts with those linebackers, right?
Okay.
He has a system where those linebackers are able to play fast. He expects them to the football IQ to be high, right?
Mhm.
Because they play fast and quick, and so it really the strength of that defense is really the linebacker group.
Okay.
Those guys, a guy like Chandler Martin, he can cover,
Mhm.
he can stop the run, and so like it's built around knowing that they have a strong linebacker front.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Sure
Now,
sounds like
see,
it would be nice to be able to say all that.
I
Look, you
see
only
that
got
y'all
two
also have.
linebackers on the field, and they've got these massive responsibilities, these things, and it's like they're always people are gonna try to pick on. So like as important as it is up front, it makes sense to have a linebacker coach that rises to the level
Mhm.
of the coordinator. But sorry, Sean, if you got another one, shoot.
No, I was interested. I also had heard when talking about the defense, the massive guy you have in the middle that it begins with as far as plugging the run, the gap in the I guess his name is Patrick Lucas, I believe.
Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah.
he's another transfer, right? He's a transfer
Mhm.
from Indiana, right? And so
Okay.
obviously
Wow.
when you go get a massive guy like that, you know
Mhm.
what that does for the front. And so
Yeah.
having him in there plugging up holes, that allows guys like I was impressed with William Whitlow
Mhm.
um, in game one specifically, right?
Mhm.
He basically helped force two takeaways, right? But a
Yeah.
lot of that is predicated on the fact that Patrick Lucas takes a lot of attention, right? As big
Mhm.
as he is, right? So I do think that Hankins and that defensive staff do a really good job of maximizing the talent that they have in terms of how to use them. Now
Okay.
we'll see how that plays out when they go up against take a step up in talent at FSU.
Mhm.
But as of right now, that defense is stopping the run pretty well, and even in Hankins, when he was interim coach, when they coached in the Liberty Bowl against Iowa State, right? I
Uh-huh.
mean, he's only had 3 games. He's a small sample size, right? He's only been the DC for essentially 3 games.
Mhm.
But in all 3 games, they've been able to stop the run. So I'm
Mhm.
curious to see if they can do that against FSU.
Okay.
And you can throw all that, kind of the stuff about the transfer portal and things of that nature out the window because I'm looking at this Memphis roster and it's transfer heavy. It's close to half as far as the starters and then the second deep, maybe well, it's about a half, I guess. You could maybe go a little bit less than a half on the 2 deep there. But they've looked good so far, been a little bit different of competition. Say what you will about Georgia Tech and Boston College, they are ACC teams. But this has all the makings of these teams like really going toe to toe, and we're going to find out if Florida State has the cojones to battle through and get a win. But very interesting to see because it's like all the things you're talking about are like the things we expected to see from our team. It didn't quite happen. You mentioned you lost a kick returner for a year. We haven't mentioned that yet. But Jalen Lucas, Florida State's kick returner, also a transfer from Indiana, like your defensive tackle. Jalen Lucas out for the year. That one really stinks for us. Um, who's Jalen Lucas on y'all's side? Who's that kind of gadget guy that Silverfield likes using that offense?
Well, it was Sutton Smith, right? Who's also out for the year, right? So like Sutton Smith is like him in a lot of ways because he's also done for the year, but he was going to be the gadget guy that you're talking about, a guy that they were going to have, coming out of the backfield as a running back, lining up as a receiver. He was a starting kick returner. I mean, he was that guy. It was the reason why he was on the watch list to be one of the most versatile players in college football because, his skill set allows him to be that. So that is the guy who was supposed to fill that role. Now we'll see how much of that role can Greg DeRosier fill because his skill set is also similar, right? He is a guy that they feel that they can use in the passing game and in that. So we'll see how much they can use him in the way that they were planning on using Sutton Smith.
Okay.
Is there anything you're wondering on our end? We want to give you a chance to, if you have any questions for me, Deshawn, about any particular matchups or anything, this weekend, and then we can get into predictions if you want to give one or kind of thoughts of how it'll play out.
No, I'll say this though, like Florida State is struggling, obviously.
A little bit.
But with everything on the line for Florida State in terms of the possibly going down 0-3 and all of that, I do think that Memphis is going to get a refocused version, a desperate version of Florida State, where those two losses may make it even more difficult for Memphis to, like, whatever the best version of Florida State is, right? I think Memphis might get that on Saturday just because Florida State's in a position where they really have no other choice, right? And Mike Norvell, anybody who follows Memphis knows Mike Norvell and what he did at Memphis and everything. And, a coach of Mike Norvell's caliber, I do anticipate that he's going to have them prepared to play on Saturday.
He's going to get it right at some point. I think that's going to be a large part of the conversation we have after we get done talking to you. Again, we've got Frank Barner II on here, Memphis beat writer. He's done a great job for us. Is that, like at some point in time, it's going to come together. But how soon do you start making those decisions? When do you start putting the youth in instead of like the guy that you're paying the money to? This year for NIL or whatever the case may be, the guy that was the presumptive starter, the guy you brought in at quarterback even to start. Like you have to, there's a certain amount of time Mike Norvell is going to give DJU, whoever else, to kind of get it together. But if at some point it doesn't happen, if it could happen against Memphis, that would be great. It would be great. We could go on a run after that. That'd be great. But if not, we continue to have these conversations and you look at a potential youth movement. I wonder, has there been talk about y'all preparing at all for Brock Glenn and DJU, or is it to one of those things where Florida State's quarterback play's been so bad it's like he's just it's not really something that's been written about?
No, if that Memphis coaching staff is preparing for, the like they're not making decisions for Florida State, right? So they're preparing for DJU moving forward, right? Obviously, if something happens, you always, no matter who you're playing, right? I do think a coaching staff looks at who the number 2 guy is, because if there is a situation where there's an injury or something or whatever, you don't want to not know anything about the number 2 guy or whatever. But I mean, I think Memphis is preparing for DJU.
Yeah, I highly doubt Silverfield and them guys are underestimating Mike Norvell, and that's a little game within the game. I mean, obviously, there's some shared parts there and knowledge that goes back and forth, but I don't know how much we can read into it. There's a lot of these things, a lot of these cliches we talk about that Florida State just hasn't really cashed in on. So we'll see. Maybe it's this week or not. But any more questions before we get out of here, or before we let Frank get out of here? Excuse me.
No, he answered very well. I appreciate you, bro.
Do you have a prediction? I know it's early in the week, so I know we probably, I wasn't planning on doing one yet. I usually do them on Fridays, but when in Rome.
Yeah, I'm still. This one is tough, right? So I was having this conversation today, and I haven't even landed on one yet, to be honest with you. I've got to have one. I've got to, by Thursday, I've got to have a few predictions in order. But right now, I'm still going back and forth just because the nature of this game is.
I wonder what the over/under is. Maybe we can get you pin you down something on the under over there.
To be honest,
FSU over under. Sorry, I'll shut up now.
No, I was just saying, even before the season, I penciled this game as not one to look past. So with the situation, those circumstances the way they are now, it's kind of like, okay, we know we were getting a monster as far as on their level, and we know this team could score. So I never looked past Memphis, even when we saw it on the schedule. Like, wait a minute, this team can score. They have a lot of veterans coming back. So it's alarming and it's concerning as far as the personnel. I mean, a lot of experience does come back on both sides of the ball. You have transfers, but they're working together and it's working really fast. And I'm really concerned about the passing game. I didn't know anything about Sutton, so I really appreciate that. But I'm concerned about all three of those receivers and the tight ends because of how they're going to be used and in space with our linebackers. That's concerning for me.
Just ignore our chat, by the way. We got Miami fans and all kind of people in there talking.
Yeah, I don't know what the number is in terms of you were asking about the over or under.
52. 52, it looks like. It's getting lower every week for Florida State game. That's nothing.
You know what? I'll go out on a limb and I'll take the over.
Take the over?
Yeah.
That's what I call the first 2 weeks. I've been wrong both weeks, but I hope you're right.
Yeah, I'll take the over because I do think that Florida State's gonna find some of their offense in this game, and I do think that Memphis will be able to move the ball some or whatever. So I could see, I could see them scoring in the 20s.
In the 20s.
Love it, man. We love it. I sure appreciate you joining us. And again, this guy, he's an insider for Memphis. He writes for those guys. If you want to, if there's anything you want to plug, your Twitter, Instagram, any of your different sites, we'd love for you to have an opportunity before you get out of here.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, anybody looking to read me can find me at dailymemphian.com. Subscribe there. If you want to find me on Twitter, it's just Frank_Bonner2, the number 2. And yeah, that's about it.
Okay.
Heck yeah, man. Well, we appreciate it. I don't know if Florida State will play y'all again, but we'll find another excuse to have you on here. Hopefully, when Jen's back healthy and y'all can have some Memphis lingo back and forth. Our buddy Chris over at Spear Addicts is also from Memphis, so it's like it's weird. I haven't really had any friends from Memphis, but I'm getting to meet all kinds of new people. Our AD and his wife are from Memphis. It's pretty neat. So again, we appreciate you for joining us, man, and we'll catch you next time.
Really appreciate it, Frank. Thank you.
Appreciate y'all. Y'all take care.
All right, you too.
Sir. Go Noles, man. Go Noles. Woo! I'll tell you what, he was awesome.
Yeah.
Well, were you not jealous listening to him talk about what their team's done in the first 2 games and about their linebackers and all that shit? I'm sitting there just like, keep talking, bro, because I like what you're saying, and he made great sense about the recruiting and all that stuff. I'm gonna make a small statement. I know you're pretty fired up and you want to talk about different stuff. But for me, guys, it is what it is. Myron Charles is decommitted.
Yes.
Like that one, we already knew that one was pretty much coming. Javian Hilson was one you were worried about, but I didn't even look into it. I'm not even answering messages about recruiting right now. I don't really care. But yeah, he decommitted as well. So you lose, but Puchis and Higgins both lose their top guy. They're kind of bell cows of the defensive line class. That's really tough. But at the same time, last time we were on here Friday or whenever it was, I sat here and told everybody, like, it sucks right now. And it feels like the bottom's here. But look, we're talking about these coaching changes that are going to have to be made at linebacker, possibly at D-line, D-end, the different things that need to happen. It's going to get worse before it gets better. That's just going to kind of how it is. It's going to be hard to hold these guys through the bad playing, through, rumors of new coaches and everything else. That's not to give excuses for it. Certain coaches I've wanted gone. We talked about it again at the time when all these contracts got renewed again on 1-year contracts outside of Atkins and a few other guys, which again, majority of the defensive guys, I believe, are on 1-year contracts. Certain maybe has a 3-year deal. But yeah, we can get into all of it. It really sucks losing those guys. It sucks losing Jalen Lucas. But yeah, start off with your biggest gripe or wherever you want to go with it. And then we can just kind of get in to what we want to see out of the team. And Hakeem Williams is back, and that's good. And there's all kind of good stuff we can talk about too.
Okay. I won't make excuses, but the Myron Charles situation, we kind of knew it was teetering prior to the season even starting. So that situation isn't one that is in correlation with the record.
Right.
It was probably projected that he would probably flip anyway. With NIL and other things with relationships with Texas, it was just probably in the fold. The Hilson thing, I'll be honest, I just say watch. If he doesn't commit within the next days, and I say that door is still open, definitely. Um, as far as that. Now, my gripe is no more than yours, George. We can throw names out for coaches, but I think there's some things with off the field and behind the scenes staff that needs to be addressed too. If you look at the timeline, there's certain names that's been thrown out there. There's other names that need to be thrown out there. And I would not want to rile up the fan base, but I would want the question is if we've heard rumors. I'm not talking about anything that just making it up, rumors of low balling and these things like that. Well, if that's the case, then where's the money going? That's the first question I would have. Then where is it going? If you're not spending it on the prospects from the portal or the prospects from high school, then that aspect before we get into even talking about the team or this year's team, then where is it going? If you're lowballing, that means you're saving and you're not spending on what you should be spending on. That's my gripe, and it falls at the feet. Mike has to take some responsibility as the head coach. All head coaches have to take that responsibility, but it's one or two, and it's multiple people's job. And those people, whether it's player, general manager, player personnel, any of that stuff, that talent acquisition area needs to be addressed and it needs to be accounted for. But even I'm looking at it now as even more of a desperate situation than just a position coach, in which we've said about Randy. Ray is even more of a bigger problem for me because he handles the acquisition overall, not just one room.
Yeah, there's no doubt that's his job, and we'll definitely get a little bit into it a little bit later.
Yeah.
The question is how much, like, do you know the name of the GM of like the rest of the schools in the country? Like, we know Derek Ray because we're Florida State fans, and he obviously Norvell trusts him and stuff. But it's like at the same time, like he was there for last year and the year before. Like, yeah, it's not something that's not like somebody that you should owe all this crazy loyalty and you don't
Yeah.
go and try and get the absolute best one in the nation and bring them in here. If Ray wants to stay around, you find another that like the way that we have with the analysts being able to be on the field. Like there's a million options nowadays. So it's not
Yes.
like again, not trying to make excuses, but just to play the devil's advocate. I want to answer this one really quick. I thought it was a good
Okay.
question from Bobby. George, if DJU goes for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, does it change your outlook on wanting Brock to be starting? Now, I did a couple short videos of Spear Addicts last week. One was like 15, one was 20 minutes. It wasn't really getting too deep in there, just really kind of covering things for more of a wider audience to give just our thoughts on where we were at in the bye week last week. But, like, guys, just because I'm talking about there needs to be a shakeup, I would like to see Brock possibly start in the first half, come out in the third quarter, have it planned, or he plays the third quarter, something like that, whatever the case may be. See him get his opportunity. That doesn't mean DJU can never come back in again. But this thing, like, oh, well, you brought him in, so he gets to start. And it's like, once you're 0-2, all that shit's off the table. We got to
Yeah.
come together as a football team and figure out, who's going to give us the best chance to win. You hear about gamers. Like, Jameis was never better in practice than Jacob Coker, if you listen to some people. But well, he got the Heisman. Coker went to Alabama the next year. All the things. But there's all the time you hear about people who are practice players and this and that. So I would love to see Brock get his opportunity. I don't think we're at the point right at this moment where you go complete and total youth movement, like you say. Sorry, DJU. It's just we'd rather have him and Luke getting the reps. We're not to that point. We're still all on hand all hands on deck, get a win. And I don't know, maybe I've cooled off a little bit since last week. Maybe you give DJU the first quarter, but if you're struggling after that first quarter, there's no reason, or maybe give him the first half, whatever the case may be. If it looks like it looked last week, 30% going into half, you got to give Brock a look. He could come out there and look like Joe Montana all of a sudden. It could be Joe Milton as well. So not Joe Milton. Well, Joe Milton's another one, but I meant Mackenzie Milton when we threw him in there and took Jordan out and we put Jordan right back in. But at this point, it being a Memphis team coming in there, all the different things, I wouldn't be against it. But I'm not trying to say throw out DJU or, Brock has to start or anything. I'm not that high on it. But certain other spots, I am. Linebacker, like Blake, And to me, Blake and Juice, I'm not trying to throw Omar Graham out either.
Mhm.
Like, he can work his way back in as the year goes. But to me, it's a priority for the future to get
Mhm.
Juice and Blake reps.
Blake on the yep.
I mean, because their floor has been the highest and they're the youngest. I mean, that's
Yeah.
you're supposed to have the old guy with the high floor and the low ceiling and then work Blake and Juice in. But no, Blake and Juice are the guy with the floor. Like, so I didn't even realize he played in that Georgia game and had a
Yeah.
great PFF score and all these things. We can go back to week 1 and why he wasn't playing. That's still damning and weird.
Mhm.
That concerns me. And we're all for Fuller D and he's been able to adjust and all these things. But like, I don't know what exactly all went down. I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, but I just feel like they got their asses whooped on this green dot and the different communications and just a lot of ways
Yeah.
between personnel.
Yes.
They just got it wrong, and it's
Yeah.
like, I trust Mike Norvell to get it right and things of that nature. We thought it was going to be a reload. It was not a reload. It is a legitimate rebuild.
Yeah.
The question is, can they get it on track? How fast can they get it on track? And what can they parlay it into next year? If you're playing well at the end of the year, we saw it in 2021. You went 5-7, but you still were able to go get Johnny Wilson and Jermaine
Mhm.
Johnson and all these players. So there's still that. And the people, like, again, recruiting sucks, and we can talk right now about what happened and what we're pissed off about. But like, there will still be a decent 2025 class at the end of the day. But yeah, some long conversations about people.
Mhm.
I'll never talk crap about Odell. He's a Nole for life. But at some point in time, you can talk
Yeah.
about the presidents and general managers and everything else. You talk about it with football coaches. Father Time, undefeated. There's
Yes.
going to be a
Yes.
point in time, like, somebody's going to overtake. I want to ask you this. Okay, we can talk Florida State football. It's what we do. But let's just back
Yes.
up and just college football as a whole.
Mhm.
This is a completely different fucking game that we're watching this year. It changed a
Yes.
little bit last year, but with the green dots coming in and all the huddling that's been going on offense and
Mhm.
defense, with the running clock, with the offensive calls, with all
Mhm.
the different things, it's a different fucking game. Like, it
Yeah.
really is. Go pop a tape in of 2013 and on up even like 2018, 2019, before COVID, it really changed a lot of things. And these new rules that they've snuck in, they've cut the football game in half.
Yeah.
They've cut the football game in half. It's nothing but a commercial. I'm not trying to be that guy that complains about commercials. But with that running clock, it's just the game's over in a flash. We've had 50, 60 snaps on both sides of the ball, both games, and it's just it's really different. It puts a premium. Like, these teams, Florida State doesn't get 70 snaps to go out there and like beat their head against the wall and get it together. It takes two whole games to get those. It puts a premium on NFL type play calling. You really saw it with Bill O'Brien and those guys. So yeah, that's that. And I did a lot of writing, talking about how I thought Derek Ray, Mike Norvell, Adam Fuller, Alex Atkins, all these guys were kind of ahead of the chains on that. Like, they were
Mhm.
seeing into the future and doing things. And hey, I talked all that shit. I was wrong. I still believe that stuff. I'm not completely gone. But look, this thing, who they thought were the leaders, this and that, it wasn't it
Mhm.
this season. Florida State, the standard is the standard. That's why we're upset. That's why we're here talking. That's why we had such high expectations going into the year. We told it. But at
Mhm.
the end of the day, take away the standard is the standard and everything else. It's not the end of the world. We can still get back to that standard. But right now, yeah, it sucks. It sucks. Sorry to devolve it to that. But guys, it isn't the end of the world. We're going to sit here, me and Deshawn, for the next 20 minutes, and we're going to talk about solutions. I'll open up the
Yeah.
call-in lines, and we'll see if anybody wants to come in with those. But yeah, that's it.
George, I don't think you were wrong in your assessment of Ray Norvell and them being ahead of the curve. What I think is the curve caught up.
Mm-hmm.
The curve caught up, and also the game has evolved to the point where you're asking college coaches to coach the game like pros. Because there's so many things that are implemented that are from the pro game. So it's going to be an adjustment. I think that plays a part in some of the scores you've seen, some of the struggles you've seen from some of the programs over the last 2 weeks, including our own. I'm not saying that's the end all be all, because we've seen what we've seen with our program. We know effort plays a part in that, but you can look at Oregon struggles in their first 2 games, the NIU Notre Dame game, struggles there.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama, don't look at that score. That was a rock fight. going into the fourth quarter. They ran the
Mhm.
score up late to make it look like that. But they had some struggles of their own with USF. I mean, you can go up and down the line and see games that we didn't expect to be close, but they were close. And I say that to say this is just telling you weren't wrong in your assessment. It just the fact that evolution, things continue to grow, the sport
Complacency.
continues to change. Yeah, and you get complacent. And I think this is just my opinion. I think that it's really a hangover. You can see it in the fan base, you see it in the administration, you see it in our coaches. Last year, 13-0 was a fucking hangover, and we have not woke up. And actually, I don't want to sound like any outside fan outside of our base, or even administrative coaching, but it's time to get over last year. Get the fuck over the snub. And I don't think these guys ever got over it. And we have to get over it, because 24 is here. You're gonna keep going over that, and we're gonna keep it. It's like an avalanche. It just keeps rolling downhill. And right now we're struggling because of so many different I guess you could say misevaluations, judgment calls on certain things with personnel, and like you said, complacency, being resting on our laws in certain places. But
K-Dog
all in all,
350 says, I think it's part of the reason we lost to Boston College last week. Having an NFL coach probably helps more than we think. And like, I'm fine with Norvell. I don't think you need
yeah,
like an NFL head coach or anything, but I think you could have more pro coaches on the staff.
yeah,
When we make these changes at the end of the year, maybe you go get a guy and you stick him at tight end who's just recruiting, and you get a D-line guy who's an NFL guy and another one who's just a recruiter at D-line.
yeah.
Because one guy can coach him up and the other guy can recruit the hell out of. Like, you've got to sacrifice and change things up. And yeah, we talked a whole lot about, when you look around the countries that have had the most success about the past couple of years, it's been coaches that have stayed the same. The consistency of staffs year over year, it really looked like that. It looks like a completely different game this year. Like, it really does. When you see these teams, what happened to Florida State the past couple of weeks, the different things with the NIUs, the USF doing what they did with Bama, just getting DeBoer, all these different things that happen. It's like a change agent can come in Florida State and really, Florida State, into college football and make a difference. We talked a lot of shit, and we still remains to be seen, but it looks like USC maybe actually affirmed, their defensive backfield. But also, people didn't take the portal as seriously as they take it now. Like, Florida State was able to kind of rack up, like, people
Ahead
didn't
of the
believe
curve.
it. Like, you're not taking a D2 guy and he's going to be a first rounder. Well, now everybody's scouring D2 for their first rounder. It's a little harder. So even though we necessarily got guys that were highly ranked and blue chips and all these things of that nature, we missed on Skirton, and he's kicking ass. We missed on this guy, and he's kicking ass.
Dumas, so many names.
And the first couple years, Florida State was the first call, and that was it. They got their guy. It was just a lot of people beat us to the punch this year. And the portal hall, quality evaluations, we don't really know. We weren't sitting there. So maybe it's but I remember going for Skirton and these different guys. They just missed. It all goes back, and that goes back to recruiting. And here's where I argue with people all the time. They want to pretend like recruiting is just high school. No, recruiting is portal, retainment, and high school. And we brought in 17 guys out of the portal. But we talked about it. At some point, the hit rate has to regress to lower. And I thought this year would be it. I thought maybe it could regress to lower, but I didn't think it was going to go to whatever it is. We were on a crazy run. It is what it is. Like, but I'm not ready to throw my team away, and we'll keep talking about how it can get better. There are pieces that I like, and we'll get more into it as me and him learn a little bit more about Memphis's team, and we hear more coming out of practice. I think Hakeem Williams back, even though we lose Lucas, that's big. But I think a little bit, like, the yards after the catch has been something that's been missing this year. Fortier did something a little bit late in the last game. But I think Hakeem Williams for DJU will be awesome, because even if a ball is a little bit off, maybe with that catch radius and that size, he can catch it and still shake a defender off, make some deep plays. And also, as far as them, they're going to want to throw the ball. I don't see them just staying and run it. Similar to a Mike Norvell team that isn't just going to run it 50 times and only pass it twice. They're going to make their playmakers get the ball. If they'll pass it 20 times and give our DBs a chance to make a play, that'd be great. We need a pick six. We need a fumble for a touchdown. This team needs anything for just to build confidence. Anything. Just a spark.
Assessing Memphis, I didn't mention it to Frank, but offline, I had said that Memphis may play a little bit more into our perceived strengths on
Yeah.
defense and offense, just because I know they do a little more RPO. Uh, the quarterback can run, but he's not a runner per se. They're going
No,
to
he
want to
wants to
throw the
turn it.
ball. So, but my concerns are that they will use their backs in the passing game and their tight ends and getting our linebackers in space if we're just talking ball here. Another thing that I'm concerned, I don't want to put all that pressure on Hakeem coming back and just saying him back moves the offense. You still have to have someone to throw. Um, for me, I am now. I'm pro wanting to see a youth movement, not a complete youth movement, like you said, George. Sprinkle here and there in certain rooms. A little bit in the wide receiver room. Definitely see if we can see Brock. Um, on the defensive side, get Nicholson in there, like you said, definitely in the trenches. I would like to see Lyons and KJ Sampson. That's a name that hasn't getting enough. I don't think he's gotten enough reps. Let's get him in there. And also rotate your guys like Turner. Let's see what Hester can do in the rotation. Shorten the rotation. See what you can get out of your personnel on the line. I don't think they're a tempo team. I have to go back and look at the games, but you utilize some of your depth, because I think that's where you have to try to get in. And something that Frank didn't mention, some of those transfers they have are Division I P2 type transfers. They come from South Carolina and LSU. So this isn't P2 or FCS moving up to G5. These guys coming, they're actually moving down. But as far as our team goes, the first thing I want to see, man, is just effort. Let me see some fire, and like something you had mentioned with DJ, that's just something I don't see. I'm not going to dump on him anymore. We've dumped on him enough, but you do not see the fire from him.
Certain guys just don't have that.
Yeah,
That's
but you
okay.
can't have it from that position. If he can't lead just from his play because it's not showing up, then you got to bring another intangible. He doesn't add any dynamic to the run game because of whatever. He's slow-footed, and I know he has a brace on his knee. We've seen his woes in consistency throwing the football and making certain throws he just can't make. If you don't have those two, plus you don't have any kind of fire in you to kind of unite your guys and bring everybody together and stay on everyone's ass and let's get this going, make a play that motivates the team, thereby motivating the defense on the other side of the ball, because they feed off of each other, then he can't continue to be the starting quarterback. I mean, I'm not saying Brock, and I'll let people know Brock is not the definite answer here right now, but he's a change of pace. He's going to bring the opposite. He's going to bring that fire, because we've seen it already. He's gutsy. He's going to be a gunslinger. He's a gambler. So we're going to have to live and die with that, but he will run the ball. That's a dynamic that we don't have with DJ that was so key to our offense, the quarterback run game. The read option, we'll be able to pull. He can run a little bit. He can scramble out of the pocket, be able to make those plays. We know he's going to throw that bitch down the field because we've seen him do it. He's gutsy. So it's kind of like we need a spark. You hate to say it in 2 games into the season, you need a spark, but you just need a spark. And we need to find some kind of spark. And I just believe Brock could be a spark.
The thing with DJ, like, if he was doing the game manager stuff, but just not hitting this pass on 3rd down, not connecting on these. No, my issue with him is it's not like there's nothing he's done that I don't imagine that Brock can't go out there and do like at all. So it's like, if you're going to be 30%, I know Brock can be 50%. So yeah, I get it. And there's a lot of, whatever it was, 7 drops the last game. I think a little bit of it is he's off target early, and then you get an opportunity and a guy misses the ball. Now it's in the whole team's head.
Yes.
Every wide receiver feels like the one single catch is the weight of the world on their shoulders. If at any point in time, like, you feel like the team is giving up on them, I can't report on that. I haven't heard that. Nobody said that to me, but you see body language. Okay, if you think they want it, they're not playing for DJU. All right, you get Brock for a quarter. And if he goes out there and it's way worse, he's throwing pick sixes, all these things. All right, motherfuckers, here you go. Play for DJU. He's your best option. Show him, at least show him like it's our best option. I don't know. It's tough, but again, we're talking a lot of crap for a team that hasn't played in 10 days. We're going to see what happens here. And we got 4 days until they play. on Saturday. I'm hopeful the team gets it together. We're going to find out. But you said something about the defensive line that I wanted to address. We talked about this a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think you should start 95 next to excuse my language,
Farmer.
Farmer,
Mm-hmm.
and let Daryl Jackson come off the bench. If anything,
Uh-huh.
like we've seen Mike Norvell do this, where the first guy off the bench may end up having the most snaps. They've done that at safety and linebacker
Yeah,
throughout the years. Just because
exactly.
he started doesn't mean you get the most snaps. To make a statement and start lines, who's blown up, he's fired off the ball consistently when he's been in the game. I
Mm-hmm.
think you mentioned Byron Turner. I think same
Mm-hmm.
thing. He hasn't always been in the right spot. He's missed the
Yeah,
edge from time to time, but he's firing off the ball when he's in there.
and he plays on an
Um,
attitude.
Yes,
He
so
plays on an
got
attitude.
him in trouble. So
Yeah,
that's bad too. You got to rein that shit in, but at least he's out there giving effort. So
yeah,
I'm for him getting more snaps. I don't quite understand, and maybe Lolo Hea isn't that much more powerful or doesn't do that much better of a job setting the edge. Marvin, I wondered about how they have some of the things balanced. Like
yeah,
I think you put 7 over there with 11 with an or, and you have Lolo Hea
yeah.
over here with Turner behind him. And when I look at the wide receivers, I don't know if it matters at all, but when you
Mm-mm.
look at the XYZ at the X, they have Benson, Portier, and
Mm-hmm.
Hakeem Williams. And
Yeah,
on the other side, they got a couple freshmen and Jerion Williamson.
yeah.
I'm like, why don't you bring Portier over to the
Opposite
boundary
Benson. Mm-hmm.
opposite Benson?
Uh-huh.
Or put Hakeem on the boundary opposite Benson, or
Yeah.
put Benson on the boundary, or whoever else on the field. You know, like
And work Jakai and Jalen in the slot. And
right,
utilize
like
Jaden their speed and their shiftiness in the slot. You're not
I don't
maximizing.
understand
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Is that
But they know more than we know, I
let me
guess.
let me? I'll have to pay attention to the game because I know a lot of times they don't play it the way it goes. But just
Mm-hmm.
looking at that seems to me like why would you top 3 guys all on one side? I don't
Yeah,
like. I get that's what the perfect build is for, but sometimes let's just get somebody over there that can make a play.
yeah,
Portier's. I was hoping Portier. I thought he was going to get an or. He didn't. He's still a backup.
yeah.
So, but again, we don't know exactly what these depth charts say. They still have Jeremiah Byer starting. Have you heard anything there? I
No,
didn't hear anything out
haven't
practice
heard
about him
anything
being
yet.
healthy or not.
Maybe Mike's playing coy here. I don't know. He just threw the roster out there, the depth chart, but on game day, you may see something different in the personnel. I also like you mentioned the receivers, but also the tight end. Let's get Landon Thomas out there. Let's see what we can get from Courtney. Also, it doesn't mean give up on Morlock, but you gotta see what you got there. And some of this youth, it can affect recruiting in a positive way if you start playing some of your young kids. Because if you don't use them, you're definitely going to lose them in today's college football landscape. If they're not getting played and they're sitting there and they're like, I'm better than this guy, it's not the right attitude. But we know certain guys, specific guys, just are not cut out right now. They're not playing at their best. I just put it that way. So let's give somebody else a shot here.
Who did Georgia Tech or Boston? Yeah, Georgia Tech. Somebody who they just lose to?
Syracuse.
Syracuse was knocking them off the ball on
Yeah,
both sides of the ball. They
attitude.
were pushing their offensive linebacker, at least stalemating them, and the same thing on the
Hmm.
other side. You
Yep.
can't tell me Syracuse's personnel is that much better than Florida State. There is some want to. There is some
Hmm.
things going on. It's there's a fix there. Will they ever get it together? We're gonna have to figure out, and that's why we talk about a youth movement. They're gonna learn a lot here. If you lose this
It,
Memphis game, it may be straight up youth movement. Like it's
yeah.
just wide open. It don't make a shit. Throw it all out. Just whoever shows in effort and practice, that's who starts the
Hmm.
game. You can work back towards the depth chart, whatever the case may be. But I have seen walk-on units on fucking special teams
Hmm.
play with better fire. And I'm talking about on field goal block deals and shit too, not just punt coverage. Like, no, play better on defensive lines. There are teams that have, it doesn't matter what you want to say, they have nowhere near the talent Florida State has that have
Hmm.
played better against teams. Like, it's not, we aren't seeing the best of these guys. We are certainly seeing the floor of what they have. And it's not all over, but all this criticism, it's fine because you already lost 2 games. The standard's the standard. You can't start 0-2 and then figure it out. You can't start 0-3 and then figure it out. The third time in 5 years, starting 0-2, it's a problem.
Yeah,
And
it's a
you
problem.
thought you had it fixed. You thought you figured all those things out and it was going to be good, but No, we were really worried about it when they didn't make any coaching changes, but yeah, it did. It caught up to catch us. Mike Norvell, like we don't have time at Florida State to have another 0 and whatever year build up and then win 10 years in 25 and then make another
Yeah.
win in 26. That
No.
is not the program that Florida State is. You've got to compete
Consistency.
every year. You don't have to be a national championship team every year, but you better bet your bottom dollar you're competing to get in that playoff at a bare minimum.
Yeah.
Like you better be competing for a playoff spot. There's 12 of them now. Okay. No fan says we could have had Kyle McCord. I know that's what you're thinking.
I was just
screaming at
about
the
to
top
throw
of my
that out.
lungs, but I don't know how much different it would have been. I don't know.
Well, I can tell you this, sir. Kyle McCord had almost 300 yards passing in the first half on
Hey,
Georgia
I
Tech.
watched DJ. You do that shit to us. That's what I'm saying. I watched him do it to teams last year, so it's. I've never seen DJ look as bad as he looked in that last game. But like that's what happens. I didn't watch every single snap of every game of every Clemson game. I was warned,
Yeah,
But it is what it is.
I was too. I
didn't realize how much we needed out of the quarterback this year.
Yeah, we needed a lot. The chat you showed earlier, someone had said if DJ threw for 300 yards, and I shook my head no, because I'm like, we've seen that before at Clemson and Oregon State. He's gonna have a game like that, but then he'll fall right back into the same place. There's inconsistency. He's on year 5. We don't need this experiment anymore.
Well, I mean, I hear you. I don't know if he throws for 300 yards and all that. That's like this team really needs it. I think you win a lot of welfare and all. I'm not taking him out, but at the same time, that doesn't mean you can't play the younger guys and things of that nature. It's definitely different. Just different, man. Different things, different goals and things moving forward. The standard is the standard. You go win every game, but at some point in time, you have to look yourself in the mirror and figure out what you're building towards. Like you don't want to ruin the program to get an extra win as well.
Yeah.
That's something we praised Norvell about earlier in his career. Like, yeah, we had those first rough 2 seasons, but we didn't sell our soul to get 10 wins in year 1 like Mel McDaniels and a lot of these other coaches that were hired around that time were, and we're in a lot better spot. That's why we're so happy.
You're right.
Like, this shit's still tough. Like, all this shit, like, it's not excuses. Don't get me wrong. It's not excuses. We should have been what we should have been. But go look at the coaches that were hired between 2019 and 2021. How many of them were left? I'll give you a hint. Lane Kiffin. That's about it.
Yeah.
Drinkowitz, I think.
Yeah.
Very few and far between. There's nobody out there that's killing it in recruiting and doing all these things. They've all had to make less work. But you're at Florida State. That's not a fucking excuse. You've got to get it done.
Yeah.
Standard is the standard. It's year 5. I don't want to keep repeating it, but go ahead.
You're right. No, you're right. I was just going to say one thing to add to it. This isn't Wake Forest. We don't bring freshmen and redshirt them and let them sit for 3 years, 4 years, and then play them as a senior, redshirt senior. That doesn't work here. It never has, and it's just a standard. That's a part of that standard. We don't do that. We develop our players. We get them ready to play. They show up on the field. They play with aggression. They play fast. They play physical, and then they go into the pros and graduate, move on to better things in life. That's just the nature of it is of the beast that is our university and our football program. We need to stop looking at Florida State as not a G5 program. We're not a FCS program. We have expectations. That's a part of the standard. And that's all we can say. The standard is a fucking standard. And I'm not seeing the standard, and I've been a little pissed all day about it, just thinking about it. I'm not mad about the losses anymore. I'm not dumping on any particular player, but not even the players here. I'm talking to the coaches and administration. It's not the fucking standard, period. Y'all know what the standard is. The standard has been set.
Maybe if the fucking war chant was getting played on 3rd down, one of the 30
that
downs we had.
That too. Definitely.
You beat Boston College. Like, that shit's crazy.
I'm like,
I think I might have noticed it last year at the Southern Miss game, but it's just one of those things. We were winning. I guess people just weren't paying attention. But, like, holy shit. No wonder our defense was best on those late road games in the ACC championship and shit. Because they were playing the war chant. Like,
I mean,
shit
but it's
like
just,
that.
It's
like,
more,
how does it happen? That's right up there with the MLK tomahawk chop that they did.
Yeah.
Like, that's
it's just more to the standard, what we said. That's a part of the standard too, the tradition. That's the standard. Warchant gets played on third down, man. We all were raised on hearing that. We know that motivated. It kicked up the defense. We're gonna get a sack. We're gonna get an interception. We get the fuck off this football field and get the offense, get the ball and go score. It's always been a part of Florida State football. Why are they changing this shit?
Yeah, that was crazy. If it was the players that were undefeated, okay, yada yada, whatever.
Who gives
As soon
a
as they
fuck?
lost that game,
You're
that
only gonna
shit
be
should
here
have been
4
out the
years.
fucking should have been out the window and back to fucking normal. That is wild. Yeah, they don't. I don't think anybody was arguing there. I think the band guy, that sounded really rude. I love David Plack and the different guys with the band, but I'm not sure who made the exact press release. Somebody from the band made a press release, and they were super stand up about it. But yeah, Alfred, everybody, the boosters, I think everybody got the picture. I think I don't speak for them, but I'm pretty sure we're going to hear the war chant against Memphis. I really do think we will.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can get that win. Hopefully Friday we come on here and predict a win, and we're hearing all these great things. But again, it's hard, man. We're not going to get on here and blow smoke out of our ass that we heard. Tell you something we heard at practice is going to make some difference. Like,
nope.
Yeah, we're still going to talk to our people and learn what happened at practice, but it's practice. We need to see it happen in a game, and hopefully they're doing the right thing to get it in order. The kind of optics of the practice highlight videos they continue to put out and things like of that nature, I don't know if it really does matter or anything, but when you've been running that same stupid little tackling drill for 3 years now, and the tackling's so bad, I see some of these different shit they do at different schools with trash cans and these lattices where a tackler pops out of nowhere and you've got to try and break it. Like, it's just kind of, I don't know. And again, we're not there for the true fourth quarter drills and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But hopefully it's getting physical and they're getting fired up. You hear the things, but we got our first caller here. This looks like a person from Illinois. Maybe there's some Huskies. Tell them to talk shit. Maybe they'll finally get us on our knees this year. So they can get us in a bowl game or something. That didn't happen in 2013. But what's up, man?
What's up, man? What's up, George? What's up, Deshawn?
How you doing?
How's it going, brother?
Yeah, man. Definitely not a Husky fan. although my brother's his high school head coach is a DN coach at NIU, and my brother's favorite wide receiver targets the wide receiver coach over there now. So I'll give them their props.
Yeah, I heard that, man. Did you have a question for us?
Yeah, I mean, just not so much of a question, just kind of like how all this stuff just spiraled down this year. I mean, I think honestly the biggest failures were, Mike had a chance. He went, 23 or what was it? He went 10-3 and then 13-1, and you mustered like the number 18th recruiting class and the number 11th recruiting class. And you had Florida both down. You had Miami down. Now, granted, Mario could go ahead and recruit because he knows how a legit recruiting operation goes from his time at Bama and, his time at Oregon. I think Mike right now, his biggest thing is he had to go through the portal just because of everything that went down with Willie, and just the roster just wasn't there. So you had to go through the portal. But these past 2 years, he missed it in high school recruiting.
Hey, buddy, we agree. We think they made some mistakes on the high school classes, and we appreciate the take. I'm not trying to cut you off, but get you another 10 seconds or something there. We'll open it back up, see if we get some more callers. But yeah, everything you said has been true for sure. The high school recruiting has to improve. You got to have freshmen and things of that nature that you can turn to. You should be able to have a freshman or a true freshman right now that, okay, the transfer didn't work out. We're going to take some lumps, but he's a 5-star. And we can trust that his development will be there and those guys aren't there. But again, go ahead and finish up, and we appreciate you calling.
Yeah, going to that, there's this season, after the season, there's just going to have to be a lot of changes, man. There's at least 4 to 5 coaches that need to be shown the door, because this can't happen at FSU,
Yep, I agree, man. Look, accountability, Mike can take it all day at the press conference, but somebody's got to pay the piper at some point in time. We'll see if they can get it together, man. We appreciate your call.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, hey. It is what it is. We could keep talking about it over and over again, but the man spoke the truth. It is what it is. We've talked about recruitings and the rankings and what they mean and don't mean. And to me, the overall ranking doesn't mean so much as anything is like kind of the particular players you get at certain particular spots. An offensive tackle, defensive end, and defensive tackle and
Yeah.
linebacker are 4 positions that have woefully underperformed in high school.
Yes.
We've seen Ron Dugans, we've seen Chris Thompson, we've seen even Alex Atkins this year come around. We've seen different guys kind of get together, grow into their roles. But certain guys are just hard headed, and it's the same as the day they got here. Or in Odell's case, I love Odell. I'm not trying to talk any shit about him, but when is it going to be next year? Is it going to be the year after that? Like, there's only so many staffs and things you can go through. So
Yeah.
we'll see what Mike does after the year. But you can't go down through loyalty. Like just like you're willing to transfer guys out the back door through the portal, you're willing to let 30 guys walk every year. A couple coaches want to walk too. And that's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, I agree, man. We're not trying to, again, make any excuses in anything we say, but you just kind of have to talk about the reality. And the reality is you've got guys out there that even though they didn't make the mark, whatever they are, the 18th or the 12th, they're not playing like that shit either.
Yeah.
If Georgia Tech ain't the 18th or the 12th team, they're the 40th or 50th team. So yes, those are conversations to have. And if you had Georgia's talent and all the same exact problems you have now, you probably win those 2 games just because talent wins out. But that's Georgia and Ohio State, and maybe 1 or 2 other teams. Alabama barely let it happen with USF, but that's where we got to get. That's where we were on track to go. But with all this falling apart, all that goodwill and recruiting that you built up, if that goes away due to play on the field, sorry, you just got to get guys who can come in here and grab them. You got to go get the whoever. Brewster is not that anymore, but at one point in time, Brewster could get them.
Yeah.
Whoever, Damian Craig could get them. Like, you got to get those guys in here who can go get
Those
the recruit,
type guys.
even if they aren't a great, football coach, whatever the case.
I can think of 2 names right now that need to be on the damn speed dial, but I ain't gonna throw them out there. But they can recruit. We need recruiters. You need to balance the staff out. You got too many motivators and developers, and not enough recruiters.
For the development to be what it is.
Yeah.
No more.
No.
You can't. All that's gone.
Yeah.
All that
goodwill is that shit's gone. You got to throw that out the window. Give me some dogs.
The Jimmys and the Joes.
Give me the Jimmys and the Joes and roll the fucking ball out there, and we'll worry about the development as we go. If you can get me a 330-pound kid out of high school, and then I'd rather you try to develop that and still continue to recruit these 270s, 265s, in which you got to sit them for 3 years, 4 years just to get to that point, if they ever get to that point. Because we know we've seen players on this roster that still haven't gotten over 300 pounds in 5 years. What are we doing?
And I'm not trying to shit on Josh Farmer or nothing, because like I've been a Josh Farmer fan. What has happened, you look at it before and after picture and all those things. But when you see the first 2 games, you wonder, well, shit, I guess he was just a 3-star. I guess Pat Payton was just a 3-star. But and I'm not saying that, guys. I'm just saying that goes through people's head when they watch it. We'll see what happens this week, and I truly think all these guys have the ability in them to play good football. But without a leader or somebody pushing that, somebody's got to step up. They need a leader, and they've got
to the players. Yeah,
it's got to be within the players. Somebody's got to take another step, and just confidence. They've got to have the confidence. We saw it. We saw this shit with Willie and when Mike first got here, and all the things. So we're right back to 2021. Hopefully, I'm praying they get their shit together and can go on a run like they did in 2021. I don't know if it starts this week, but a damn win would sure be nice. So it's not quite that bad. If you could be 2-3 going into the second half of the season and you get your shit together, that would be great. Because Notre Dame, that's a winnable ball game, boys. We just saw was it NIU beat Notre Dame. So if they did it, Florida State has enough talent to beat Notre Dame, and we'll see what Miami does the rest of the year. All these other teams, Miami looks like a juggernaut after one game in FAMU or whatever, but it's crazy. They're still posting highlights of that week 1 game. Hey, I get it, man. Be fired up. And maybe they are juggernaut. Maybe they run through the ACC, but I still think we've got another 2 or 3 weeks before we know who's good in college football. I mean, people are talking about Shedeur Sanders in Colorado like they were really here, and look what happened to them in week 2 doing by Nebraska program. Sorry.
No, I was just saying you could turn on the TV and you see other, contributing, if not playing outright, and it makes you. It is frustrating to be a fan and know that you got some talent on this roster, whether they're upperclassmen or lower. So, you like to just see a little better blend. Just want to see a
Yep.
little better blend, man.
I just missed a call there from somebody. I'm bad about that. I gotta turn this thing off silent, but then it makes a bunch of noise. Let's see. See if I can call him back.
Okay.
Damn, you hit the bitch button on me, man. I was trying to call you back. Try again, 954 number out there. But yeah, we're getting close. We'll give another 2 or 3 minutes for you guys to call in. If you have any questions, throw them in the chat. Deshawn, anything on your mind before we wrap it up?
No, nothing more, man. We'll touch on, our expectations on Friday and our predictions and stuff. I just want to see this program. I want to see this program look like it's supposed to look. That's it. And it's frustrating when you followed it for as long as you followed it, and it does not resemble on either side of the ball, just the attitude. It ain't even about the technique and execution right now. It's the attitude, emotion, as we used to say, the swagger. It's not there, and it's cockiness, but it's cockiness and swagger with execution. We're not seeing none of that. None of it. There's no energy. And one more thing, you spoke to leaders, but your universal leader is always viewed as your quarterback. And if you don't have that, then what are we planning for? Jordan didn't go and yell, but he did lead, and he did cuss folks out when they needed to be cussed out. Don't see that. Just saying.
We definitely need the leaders to step up, and on offense, there's no doubt that it starts with the quarterback. Go ahead, you're live with the Renegade Rundown. You'll be our last caller. What you got for us?
Yes. The Tiny Hat CEO has returned to the Renegade Rundown. Shout out to my boy Deshawn. I see you up there looking angry as hell. I see George. I would say shout out to George for making that banana flavored moonshine in his tub. But see, this is the problem that we got here with Florida State right now. The Tiny Hat CEO had to call up there 3 times, got sent to voicemail, left on red twice before I had to get on this joint right here. Nobody focused. Nobody focused right now. All right, y'all out here running this phone just like Derek Ray is out here running the recruiting on the trail. This is what we talking about. There is a lack of execution from the leaders of this program right now, and I, for one, am not happy about what I'm seeing here. Okay, this is terrible. This is terrible. And then I heard somebody on here say that Miami looks like a juggernaut. I'm sorry. Since when are we giving the University of Coral Gables Hurricanes any type of shine for anything that they do? I don't give a damn if they are 12-0 and we the last team on their schedule. They gonna lose that game. They are plebeians. They are below us. They are third class citizens. Okay, we don't ever want to give them credit for nothing. I don't care if they have Ed Reed himself back there picking the ball off with Tom Brady throwing the ball to wide open receivers. They could have Marvin Harrison, Terrell Owens, and Reggie and Jerry Rice as they wide receiving core, and I'm still gonna call them trash. So I don't ever want to hear y'all giving Miami props for nothing on this program here. Either way we go. You know what? One of the things that I like about what I'm hearing here is that we finally starting to see as a fan base that we need to start holding these coaches accountable. I love Odell, love him. Let's build him a statue. Let's put him in the Ring of Honor. That's great. You not coaching my D tackles. I'm sorry, you got to go. Pap, you have a nice little resume there, but you're not going to be out here on the trail recruiting my DNs no more. Okay, I don't want to see it. Randy, we ain't even got to say nothing about Randy. All right, we can go ahead and get him out the paint. As far as I'm concerned, the only coaches on this staff right now that are untouchable are Mike Norvell and Pat Surtain. Everybody can get reviews at the end of the season. Everybody got an answer to me. If I'm the head coach, you should have been able to see this yourself, Mike, and I'm going to hang that on him, because one of the things that I was told when Mike was hired was that he is a great evaluator of coaching talent. That's what they said. And let's look at the coaches that he brought in, and let's look at what that coaching talent has done. Who has been picked off of this coaching staff over this time? Who's been picked off? We had Dillingham go ahead and get his thing going. We had a couple of team sniff around Atkins. Okay, cool. But who else on this coaching staff are top programs trying to pull away from us? And the fact that I haven't heard any smoke about that is letting me know that we don't have the talent evaluators that we have. We don't have the coaches that are there. We don't have the ace recruiters that we need to get us where we need to be. So until I see some changes there, I'm going to stick to what I said before. I'm going to give them another first half. I call for youth movement if the first half of the Boston College game looked like pure ass bouncing on camera, and I'm going to stick by that. I want to see Brock get out there, sling the rock. And if Brock is not ready to sling the rock, then I have questions for Tony Tokars and Mike Norvell. I got questions about what y'all doing with that quarterback room. That's what I want to see. I want all the young guys. Let's get LaWayne McCoy out there. Let's get some of these other young cats out there and get them. Exactly. Let's get Elijah out there too. I want to see these boys catch the ball. Let's see what you got, Dugans. The Doak right now look like it's riding on two flats. I need you to show me what's up. You look like the Doak is sitting on bricks right now, like when Martin was sitting there on his little in the alley on his little stakeout, and then when he went to go drive the car, the way he was sitting on four bricks right there, bro. We ain't in Detroit. I need you to be better than this. All right, that's what I need to see. I want to see what's going on with this program, and I need to see us making the proper moves. If you want to say pull DJU, pull them. But if you pull them, let's ride with the young guys for the rest of the year. You gonna give DJ another shot? Okay, cool. That's what you're gonna do. But I'm telling you right now, be ready for the big dog to pull back up Monday nights, 9:00 p.m. with the FSU Harley Quinn on my arm, while we gonna be lighting this program up yet again. Okay, like y'all said all night, the standard is the standard. Well, I'm gonna hold you to it. Tiny Hat Gang, we out.
Appreciate you, brother. Yeah, hey, I agree with a lot of the stuff he said. He went a little bit more extreme than I would. But specifically, let me just address this before we get out of here as far as the defensive line stuff. And just to say again, I love you, Odell, if you're watching. You're the man, Odell. But you have to balance it out to what Deshawn's comment was. Like, to have an Odell or to have a Papuchis is just fine. But an Odell and a Papuchis is a problem. A Dugans and a Chris Thompson
is a problem.
You can't have all of the same youth minister leader type stereotype guy that you can't see on the field. We need some Zach Smiths and some, whoever. Some people who are just going to go out there and pull the tricks to make sure that Norvell gets to talk to this freaking wide receiver first. Listen to that story on the roast the other day. Like, there's got to be some balance there. And if we had him, Dillingham got pulled away. People have tried to get Alex. There's rumors of tow cars. But besides those, you've got a lot of guys. He's good at evaluating coaches, but what good does that do to you if you don't ever go out and hire any? Yeah. So to your point, and Tiny Hat's point, guys aren't getting picked off. But Odell Haggins, he's not getting picked off. He would never get picked. He wouldn't want to. He's just going to be at Florida State until he's done. Ron Dugans has been around the world. Came back to Florida State to find success, but he's not trying to go to be a head coach somewhere and move up again, I don't think. I think he's just I'm at Florida State as the wide receiver coach. We need some people who are wanting to be head coaches. It's it sucks you got to keep replacing them and things of that nature. Kirby's able to do something with bringing in guys that are, head coaches in the past, but they're willing to come be there because of what Georgia's got going on. But Randy Shannon isn't that. Some of the guys we've got isn't that. So I don't know if you get all of them. You take it all the way down to Surtain, but I'm in favor at least 4 or 5 guys getting pulled. Whether you figure out which 4 to keep, whether it's Tokars, Surtain, Atkins, maybe another, whatever the case may be. I think you certainly need to get 3 or 4 guys in here that have to have better recruiting, and we need to see some fresh coaching ideas as well.
Not only better to recruiting, better development too. You have to assess the whole program. That's every aspect, from the head coach to the strength and conditioning to the position coaches, all of it, to the analysts, to the general managers, player personnel. All of it has to be assessed. And one more thing you mentioned about Kirby, the biggest thing about what Kirby's done is he's recruiting in the main places you need to recruit. We can recruit a decent quarterback, decent running back room, but if you recruit elite on the offensive defensive lines, you're going to win football games. It's bottom line. And it seems like, truly we've been recruiting over the last few years like we're a 7-on-7 team. We're bringing in great classes of DBs, receivers, but we're not getting a great classes where it counts on the defense and offensive lines.
In
and
high school.
definitely in high school. In the portal, I mean, what we don't know yet. We don't know what this is that we got this
we've
year.
done amazing. There's
Yeah,
no doubt
we've
about
done in the past, but
Period.
but let's put it this way: what we've already said. Yeah, in high school, if you're getting guys from the portal,
You
the
gotta
high
get
school
them.
cats are going to make up your depth, though. So your depth needs to be elite if you're gonna recruit high school kids at a clip of 15, 16 per class. Then they all have to be elite. You can't bring in a bunch of fucking 3-stars as your depth behind portal players. You just can't. If you're going to bring the portal and balance it out, then you got to have those high school kids be elite level. And not everybody's elite. And you're right. We have to recruit the trenches better
Specifically in the trenches out of
in
high
the
school.
trenches. That's
You
where
have
in the
got
trenches
to be
out of high
able
school.
to
Yes,
tackle
because
ends and tackles,
Yep.
ends and tackles. You got to
That's
be able
right.
to get
Yep.
those guys out of high school.
Because you're not going to find that in the portal. You're not.
You can find them, but you can't find true freshmen. Like a 5-star isn't going. Like you can get Jermaine Johnson, Jared Verse,
Yeah.
and all these things. But like I was saying earlier, you need a guy who is a freshman that is a freak that you can lean on for depth and things of that nature, because like he's just a freshman. Like he's not going to
Yeah.
be able to go anywhere in the country and start because he's a freshman. Like
Yeah.
they're like Nick Skirts on in the portal. You can get one of those guys every year.
Yeah.
But you got Skirts on for a year. You need
Mhm.
somebody out of high school like a Bang to
Yeah.
where whoever
You can
name
build
the
around that.
5-star defensive player, somebody that is a true freshman. If you bust on that portal guy or you this or you that,
Yeah.
you've got a vessel you can pour into. We don't have any vessels we can pour into on the defensive line. Who's the future of the defensive line? You can name a couple good guys that we're happy about, Flag and a couple different guys,
Mhm.
but there's just you got to get the guys out of high school. And I know it sounds
Yeah.
like we're arguing, but we're just talking about the same thing. Just kind of
No, we're not arguing. It's saying the same thing. It's just addressing
it's
addressing
aggravating.
the need.
Mhm.
Like you said, yeah, you can find decent linemen in the portal, but those high level 5-star caliber guys that are good, they're not going to let them go. They'll let a linebacker walk or a running back walk before they allow their linemen to walk. Georgia's not allowing any linemen to walk like that is worth its weight in salt. I mean,
Well, they just don't have a reason to, is what I'm
no, they
trying
don't.
to point
No,
out.
even when they
You
hit the
can get
portal.
them as a junior or a senior, but a
Yeah.
freshman, sophomore, 5-star, like they're getting $800,000 at NIL at Georgia
Yeah.
to sit there and lift weights and get
Yeah.
ready to come be a
Texas
star.
too. Texas too.
You're
It's the
not
same
getting
thing.
those young guys. You might get them. It may not work out at Georgia, but
Yeah.
that's because they brought 6 of them in.
Yeah.
And so you may get Marvin Jones Jr. He's all world, but you got him for 1 or 2 years. And
Yeah.
like maybe he didn't hit. There's a chance. Like you may get a Jermaine
Yeah.
Johnson. Like that's kind of just what I'm trying to pinpoint here.
No,
Is like
you're
there's
right. Because if
nothing
he
wrong
doesn't
from
work,
getting
then
this
who's
and
behind
getting
him?
that. Just exactly you said it. If you're only going to bring 18 guys in, then
Mhm.
4 or 5 of them had better be 4 and 5-star beast fucking linemen that you can build with.
Yes,
Because
exactly.
if you do that every year for 3 years, you're going to have a juniors class and you're going to have 10 guys that are
Then
underclassmen.
you're not taking as
And
many
that's
portal guys
and that's
on the line.
literally the same
Yeah.
numbers as you're bringing now, 18,
Yep.
20 guys.
Exactly.
But Pooches, Odell, they have brought in 3-star after 3-star project after 3-star project. It just is what it is. It hasn't gotten any better since I love Robert Cooper. I'm hoping we get him on the show, but it's those type of guys we're bringing in year after year. And
Yeah.
it's like there has to be at some point, and that's not something we ran away from. It's been
No.
amazing. Like, did definitely over guess how good we were going to be able to do the portal. If you look at it on
Yeah.
paper, we thought they were going to be able to do this and do that. I talked a lot about what the hit rate was out of the portal. And you brought in 4 in, like it wasn't that way this year. It was
Elite.
more. Florida State brought 4 guys in, like LSU brought 4 guys in at DB last year. It's because they were desperate for it. And yeah, they didn't hit as good as they did the previous couple years.
And look, you can count on one hand the elite level linebackers we brought in out of the high school ranks over the last
None. Yeah,
6-7 years. It's
None.
ridiculous.
None. Nicholson, I mean, is a beast. Don't get me wrong, but it's
He's
not like
forced
there was
up,
no
but
big
no.
hullabaloo about him.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing about that, even with Nicholson, he's developing in that position. He played that position, but he also played running back in high school. And most of his highlights come from playing running back. Where are our true linebackers instead of these 3-star gems that Randy keeps mining?
That 6'1", 210 pounds, and
Yeah.
But yeah,
You
we're
know
not
they
gonna bitch and
exist at
grind all night.
230.
But,
No, I'm not bitching. I'm just stating
no,
the
I'm talking for
facts.
myself. I'm not talking
Yeah.
for you.
No, I'm just stating the facts of what it is. There's some changes, and it's not like I'm saying I'm not dumping on any of the players as far as personally. I'm talking about their play, and I'm talking about what I see as a fan that needs to get better, and it's not the standard. That's it.
Facts on top of facts, guys. We're gonna cut it off here. Go ahead and let the folks know, because I know your podcast is starting to get growing a little bit. We want to make sure people. I know y'all watch NFL too, so make sure y'all go check Deshawn out.
Yeah, it's a football talk. Let's Talk Ball podcast. Double D's Let's Talk Ball podcast. We actually be shooting probably tonight a little bit, about an hour or maybe 30 minutes from now. Double D's Let's Talk College, where we'll break down some of the college games and pick some of the key games on the weekend. And also Double D's Gaming, where you'll see us streaming games from the NCAA, Madden, things like that. And D's Corner, one more thing. DSCORNER, D's Corner.
Boom. You heard it there. Follow us on Twitter. I'm at Renegade Report 1. He's Deshawn Adams 18. Jen is at Jen Santy 1890. We love all you guys. We will see y'all back here on Friday. Make sure you check me out at the Voice of College Football as well. FSU Voice of College Football, that is, tomorrow for the weekly show over there at 6 Eastern. And who knows, maybe get to do some of those shorter videos this week. I haven't decided yet. If something comes up worth talking about, we'll do it. But anyways, go Noles, and we'll again see y'all Friday.
It's easy to abandon fundamentals. Easy to not communicate, not get the call. It's easy for those things to show up. And then you get to look back, and it's opportunity for regret. Everybody knows we're better than what we just put out there on that field. And that all